Last year I learned conversational Italian in just 30 days, and the reactions I got were that I either had to be lying, that I'm just like super talented, and basically that they themselves couldn't do the same thing. That's all wrong, but I get it. Because the common experience of learning a language is that it's this super slow, tedious, and boring process that takes forever and seemingly gives really shitty results. But that doesn't have to be the case. So today, I'm here to save you from your misery and teach you how to actually learn a language really quickly. Because after learning Spanish, Japanese, and Italian to a conversational level in the past few years, I realized it's actually pretty dang simple. So by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to learn a language in a quick and effective way, and you can just copy it and do the same. Alright, so first of all, what the hell is even different between the people who are flexing their 500 languages on Instagram and the people who have tried to learn a language but end up just quitting and crying in a corner somewhere? Which, by the way, was me in the past until I fixed these things. Well, the two most common answers I've gotten is that it's either talent. Some people are just way smarter and way better at languages, which might to some extent be true, but it's not really true, right? Because I thought I was untalented, but now I speak multiple languages. And the second thing is time. Like, some people think it takes so much time, and it's basically totally impossible unless you're a basement-dwelling loser somewhere, which isn't true either. What I found is the main thing that differentiates the people who succeed versus don't succeed is chaos. Chaos versus structure, I guess. The people who actually succeed, they have a legitimate routine, they have some goals, they have a plan, they have reasons behind doing the things they do. And the people who don't succeed, they're just doing random stuff. Be honest with me for a second here. Like, how many language learning apps do you have on your phone? Because if I were to guess, one day you're probably scrolling like 5 tips to learn Japanese videos, and then the next day you're downloading some like learn Japanese or learn Spanish from your favorite song lyrics, and then the other day you're just like, I'm not gonna do anything, and then 1 week later you're back to Duolingo, and then you just quit. Like, that's basically the experience of most language learners, including me in the past. So people would try to learn a language in that way, and then be like, oh, well, I didn't get any results. Like, I guess I'm just not a language person. I'm just not supposed to learn languages. I'm untalented, whatever. But it's like, what? I mean, you wouldn't go to the gym for like a month expecting to come out looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger if all you do is do like random Instagram exercises. You have no routine at all. You're like skipping random muscle groups. You're taking a week off, right? But people expect language learning to work that way. No, language learning is the same. Everyone wants the tactics, the secret sauce, but that stuff doesn't matter if you had the wrong mindset and the wrong perspective on language learning. It really doesn't, right? There is some stuff that's going to help you, and I'm going to talk about that later, but the reason I'm saying this first is because it's the foundation of everything. And so the fix isn't just doing more or being reborn to like smarter parents or something. It's doing the right things in the right order and minimizing all the noise, all the BS out there. Which is what the next 2 steps are going to do. Firstly, by making sure you actually stay on track and do the things needed to reach your goals. Alright, so this is what I call preparing for success. Basically planning and setting some goals so you know where the hell you're even going, right? Because your routine will change a lot depending on if you want to get like native level fluent or if you want to get just basic fluent or when you want to get there, etc. And so this is not just like set a goal and then forget about it. It's doing it in a specific way. I'm gonna be honest, like with Spanish and Japanese, I was incredibly inconsistent in the beginning. Like incredibly inconsistent. I would take months off, I would do a little bit one day and then like a lot the next day and then nothing one day. And yeah, I made progress, but I could have made so much quicker progress if I just implemented these 3 goals. And when I did it for Italian, I made way faster progress, and it took me probably 5 to 10 minutes to set up. So it's way worth it, and it will save you many hours in the long run. What I've seen is that the best language learners, they basically have 3 things clear first. They first have an emotional reason that keeps them motivated when things get hard. So this is not just like, I want to learn this language to get fluent because it's cool or whatever. It's something deeper. They also have a clear and measurable goal to strive for that basically keeps them on track so they know exactly where they're going in the kind of near term, I guess, if that's even a word. And they also set smaller goals that keep them on track daily and weekly. And so this will sort of act like your GPS. It will make sure that you know where the hell you're even going, and it will also show you the best route to get there, making sure you don't like drive off a cliff or something and crash, and also show you how far you have left your destination, essentially. And so how you practically implement that, and what I did was that I had a main goal, what I call a North Star. I can't pronounce that word, North Star. And that was basically guiding me. And it was that I wanted to be in Italy. I wanted to be like in the country, in the future, speaking with people around me, having my family there, connecting with them, and just connecting more with the culture in general. My grandpa comes from Italy, and I have like a bunch of aunts and uncles and cousins I've never even met there. So basically, I just wanted to like get to know them better and speak to them in my family's language. That's not like a clear goal. Like I can't say that I want to get there in two years, or that I want to get to like one exact level. It's more like a vision, right? It's more like something a little bit vague, but it's also pretty emotionally compelling. And so for you, that might be moving to a country, or it might also be connecting with your family, or I don't know, visiting Paris and ordering a baguette in a perfect French accent or whatever, who knows. The main thing here is that it has to be something compelling that you keep reminding yourself of, and something that like will be strong enough to get you studying on a Friday night when all you want to do is lay down in bed and eat chips and watch Netflix, essentially. It's gonna be what motivates you to switch from an English-speaking show to a French show if you want to order baguettes or whatever. And so I don't know if I came to think of that example, but let's go with it, okay? It's basically what drives you and what got you started to even learn in the first place. And a lot of people just forget this after a while, so it's important to remind yourself of it. But then you also need a medium-term goal. And for me, this was getting conversational in 30 days, specifically 30 days. For Spanish in the past, I had one of these goals in the beginning, but then afterwards I didn't really have a goal. I wanted to get better, but I didn't know when I wanted to get better. I didn't know exactly to what level. Like I wanted to get fluent, but what the hell's even fluent, right? And so for me in Italian, it was more like B1-ish, which is like lower intermediate, or A2, like upper elementary. Something where I could manage basic conversations and I could speak to someone for an hour, but like limited topics kind of thing. And the 30 days really, really helped, because having this time-specific goal made it so that I couldn't just quit one day, or I couldn't quit a week. Because if I quit a week, my whole plan was messed up, right? I couldn't continue, and I wouldn't have enough time to get there, essentially. Now, not all of you will obviously be able to book a trip somewhere, but this might just be something as simple as like, I want to watch this episode of an anime in 60 days without Japanese, or without English subtitles, right? With Japanese subtitles, maybe. Or that you want to have an hour-long conversation with someone who you know from the country in, 45 days or 90 days or half a year, whatever. The point is, you want something specific, something measurable, and something time-bound that motivates you. And then for my day-to-day life in the language, I set small daily and weekly goals. So for example, first week, my goal was just to complete an audio course, but covering like the basic grammar. And then I also had like some more quantitative goals, like I want to learn 15 words a day. That's a goal that I can work towards every day, right? I know like, have I hit it or not? If I haven't hit it for especially multiple days in a row, I know that I'm off track and I gotta put in a little bit more effort to like, essentially, to be able to reach my goal, basically. It just keeps me on track, right? Without these, I would have just had to like guess what to do every day. Like, should I listen? Should I speak? Should I learn words? I wouldn't have known, which it's fine. You'll still be making progress, especially if this is a longer term goal. That might be fine. But if you want to make as quick progress as possible, it will lead to a lot of time wasted and just like overthinking and decision fatigue. And so these are the 3 types of goals: your North Star goal, your medium-term goal, and your short-term goals. Most people will have none of these. And even if they have one, it's like a super vague vision maybe, but they have no specific goals. Or maybe they have specific goals, but no vision. So if you have all 3, I'm gonna be honest, like it probably boosts your results by 10x or something, and you're likely to actually continuing. So if you're serious about learning a language, I urge you to like pause the video right here, rewind or whatever, and just write them down. It takes you like 5 minutes and it will save you hours long-term. Now, you know now what to prioritize. Like you have a goal, you have a clear goal of what you want from the language. And so now it's time to actually have a routine that works around these goals and around you and what you want, that has you prioritizing the right things at each point of time. And so to the most important question, what the hell do you do day to day to get fluent? Well, here's where my method that I call the BEP method comes into play. I call the BEP method because it has 3 stages. So the B stands for build, the E stands for expand, and the P stands for perfect. The core idea here is that a method shouldn't just be like a collection of things. You know, I listen, I read, I speak, and I learn grammar. That's not really enough, because in the beginning, for example, why the hell should I be speaking on day 1 or week 1 when I don't even know enough words to maintain a conversation? It would just be a waste of time, right? And so we always want to maximize what we get out of each hour we put in, or each minute, essentially, right? And so for that to be true, we need to have different stages, and we need to have a sort of a facial, is that a word? Whatever the word is, basically an approach with different phases. And so the first phase or stage is build. And in the first 1 to 2 weeks, I just focused on learning the foundations of Italian. Basically, like, what's different from English? You know, are there any similarities to Spanish? Which there are, obviously. But like, Are there any weird grammar rules that when I learn them, I automatically unlock a bunch of different words or basically what's the most important stuff, you know? And I try to give myself a head start. I didn't try to get fluent. I just try to give myself a head start so that I made everything that comes after this easier. The reason you learn so effing slow with like apps and in school generally is because they teach you the most useless shit. Like they really do. I was using this Duolingo course for Italian for a while, not seriously, but I was just skimming through it to keep up my streak, you know, it's very important. And they literally taught me the word for grapefruit in like, I don't know, my first few weeks. Grapefruit. I mean, sure, it's something we all know what it means, but like, when do you actually use it in your day-to-day life? I can't think of more than like, I don't know, 3 situations in the past 10 years where I've used the word grapefruit in my native language and in English too. Like, when do you talk about it? Same thing for Japanese. Like, I've seen in Japanese courses, they teach you the words for vacuum cleaner and accountant and stuff in your first few months. What the hell? What was the point of that? Like, if you can't keep a 1-hour conversation, why would you learn the word for vacuum cleaner? With that being said, that's kind of what the build phase gets rid of. It gets rid of all the noise. Like, there's no point in learning that now. I'm not saying it's never useful, but you don't need to spend your time doing it now. And so what you want to do is you want to prioritize the foundations first. The stuff that lets you start having and understanding simple conversations. Because that's your next level, right? You gotta go one level at a time. It's like in a video game. You don't skip to the last level. What's the point? And so what I did here was I just listened every day to a grammar course that taught me like the most common grammar rules and the most common words along with it, like grammar rules and then how to use it in a sentence kind of thing. And so I didn't try to master each grammar rule, but all I tried to do was become aware of it. So that whenever I heard it used in real life, or when I heard it used in a sentence or saw it on a textbook or whatever, I knew like sort of, okay, it's that grammar rule. I sort of know how it works, right? Same thing with words. I learned like 10, 15, 20 new Italian words every day, but I made sure to keep it keep it only to the most useful words. So words like it, like hello, like that, like eat, run, walk, etc. And I also listened to a little bit of beginner podcasts. So no random scrolling on TikTok, no random like speaking or learning complex slangs, none of that. Now, mind you, this is mostly studying and it's not a lot of speaking, it's not a lot of listening. And so that's not enough to get fluent on your own, on its own. So you want to transition. For me, it was like 2 weeks in, 1 to 2 weeks in, like halfway point basically. But for you, it might be a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months in. You want to transition to a more real life usage focused approach. It's a long way to explain it, but I call this the expand stage. And so basically, you now have like a pretty wide base, but you need to deepen your knowledge, and you also need to expand the base even more. Expand the base even more. Basically, you might know a word, but you don't exactly know how it's used in real life. And so the point here is to get more context about like how do native speakers actually use this? How is it used in any other situations other than the textbook definition, etc., etc. And most people will never even get here because they quit beforehand. But those who do get a few months in, they just keep doing the same stuff and same stuff and same stuff over and over again, which will basically guarantee you never get fluent, because you can't get fluent just studying. And so what I did here was that I watched a lot of beginner Italian videos, and I kind of moved up in difficulty along the way. So because I already knew a few hundred words at least from the first stage, and I also knew all the most common grammar rules, when I then saw someone speak in Italian, like full sentences, have a conversation and all that, I can understand it, like pretty well. I couldn't understand complex Italian, of course, which is where you started at a basic level. And then whenever you see these words that you've already studied a little bit, you will notice like, it's that word, yeah, it means that thing, okay, cool. And so your mind gets kind of, the definition or the meaning of it gets refreshed in your mind. And when you see a grammar rule that you've already studied, now used in real life, you'll be like, it's that grammar rule. Okay, cool, he used it a little bit differently. Okay, maybe that's a different use case. And over time, when you expose yourself to like dozens and hundreds and thousands of hours of this content, of listening and reading to the language, your brain will start kind of mapping out the language more broadly, I guess. You will get a bigger picture of how the language actually works. It's sort of like what you did at first was just gather the puzzle pieces, but now you're sort of expanding your view of the puzzle as a whole. If you just have the puzzle pieces, you won't know exactly where to put them. So you obviously need to know what the puzzle looks like. But if you know what the puzzle looks like, you know how the puzzle pieces, it's going to be pretty hard to like, build the puzzle. Anyways, I think you get it. But the point here is basically just to expose yourself to the language more. Get away from all the safe learner stuff and just see how language works in the real world. So practically listen, read, speak. I love, and I spend a lot of time listening to podcasts when I'm walking somewhere, when I'm at the gym, when I'm commuting, when I'm whatever. Just listen to podcasts, beginner podcast, watch YouTube videos. Try to replace stuff like maybe your Netflix with a little bit of YouTube watching in your target language. First beginner content, and then you move up in difficulty. I also spoke a little bit, but not much here. And I think this stage is honestly the biggest reason, or the biggest determining factor if you'll sound natural or you won't. Right? There's plenty of people who know a lot of the language, and they might even speak the language pretty well after a while, but they just sound like a textbook robot. They sound really weird. They have a thick accent, and they don't express themselves naturally, and it's like they have to always think about what to say, right? Like I've had Spanish teachers and just like people who know a lot about the language, but they sound really awkward. And this is why they're just lacking this exposure to the language. So I think this stage was one of the reasons why I got so many compliments when I was in Italy about how natural I sounded and like my accent and all that. And so if you want to like sound like a native speaker sort of, you really can't neglect this natural exposure. And then lastly, you need to perfect what you've built. You now have a strong base and you've expanded that base a lot, but now it's time to make the language yours and to sort of add the finishing touches. And so the last week or so was spent speaking, getting more into like real native conversations. Because beforehand, I'd spoke a little bit, but it was mostly like to myself or chatting a little bit. It wasn't having full-on conversations. I also watched more native content instead of just watching learner content where they speak slower and more simple words. I try to expose myself as much as possible to real Italian. Because it's totally fine to have your textbooks and your tutors and all that, but it's a pretty common trap where people just get trapped in this comfort of being a language learner forever. And it's like, yeah, you can keep learning words, you can keep stacking grammar rules, and you can even have conversations, like 1 hour conversations. But if you keep everything at the same level, you'll never get good enough to like understand and partake in conversations at this level if you only do stuff at this level, right? So at some point you just gotta take that jump, even though it's pretty hard at first, right? I didn't understand a lot of the native content when I started watching them in like week 3, but with a little bit of time and exposure, I understood more and more and more. And now I can basically watch native content in Italian. And at this stage, you also want to kind of tailor the language to your life and goals. So here's where you might actually learn some slang, or you might actually learn stuff about the kind of topics that you're interested in talking about. At first, your main goal should just be learning the common words, because the common words will show up in all conversations no matter what. Like even if you're talking about rocket science or about food or walking your dog, you will use common words, right? But if you want to talk about rocket science, for instance, well, here's the time to learn the rocket science vocabulary. And so for me, for example, I love fashion. And so when I was in Japan last month, what did I do to improve beforehand? Did I learn general Japanese vocabulary? Did I learn about politics or whatever? No, even though those things might be useful to like improve a little bit on, sure, but it wasn't the main thing that I needed. And so I just learned the stuff that was going to be useful for me. And that's what let me walk into stores and chat with the people working there and like make friends and all that. It's that I actually learned the stuff that was useful. And so yeah, that's basically just how you finish it off. You make the language yours. And so once you've understood the problem of random scattered learning, you've set some goals and also like built a plan around what you want from the language. And then you have an actual routine that works on those things, built for you at the right times and in the right order. Well, now, my friend, now you're officially a part of the Cool Kids Club, where you're able to bully your friends who are struggling with language learning into submitting into your superior way of learning. Congrats. And to help you with that, I actually built a 21-day free email course going over all my best lessons, all my best systems, my tips, and the mistakes I've made learning languages for the past few years, so that you can basically learn everything that I know and learn languages way, way quicker. There's a link to that in the description. I'll see you there, and I appreciate you watching. Until next time, keep learning.